Hello everyone. Today it was a very special day for Korean people. On behalf of our Korean people, I'd like to deliver a letter of appreciation to the United States of Americans. The letter title is Celebrating the 72nd anniversary of the Lake Changjin battle, the Korean Exodus. The commemoration of the Lake Changjin battle was held at Incheon Liberty Park on December 10, 2022. We Koreans remain grateful for the commitment of over 4,300 American, English, Australian, and Canadian missionaries who sought to save the Korean Peninsula. Additionally, 1,789,000 United States soldiers fought during the Korean War, in which 54,246 young souls returned to our Father in the heaven. Many Koreans feel the loss of these men as we feel the loss of our own sons. Again, as Koreans, we are forever grateful for the fact that the United States protected us and for the $67 billion worth of United States tax, which was used to rebuild Korea from scratches. We would also like to thank the churches that sent relief supplies from across the Pacific to save us. We are simple citizens that strive to remember these noble acts of Americans and to pass this sense of respect to our children. The Battle of Changjin Lake, in which was the United States Navy and the Korean military opposed the Chinese. The Hungnam evacuation, a miraculous rescue mission that saved 100,000 North Korean civilians. Both events will be commemorated on December 10th, 11 a.m. in front of the statue of General MacArthur located at the Incheon Liberty Park, South Korea. Korean War, the first Liberty crusade in history. The Korean War was no civil war. It was a crusade for liberty, a war of political ideas. It was the first war in history in which democracy and communism collided. On October 19th of 1950, right when Pyongyang was on the brink of liberation, Communist China marched across the Yalu River to deter this act. The first 3 months of the Korean War was fought against the North Koreans. But the next 34 months was a fight between the United Nations military and Communist China. 72 years ago, Communist China was a global threat to world peace. Now, it has become an empire that seeks to subjugate the world. The Communist Party of China promotes the ideal of communism, an ideal that annihilates human rights. It is also enslaving many nations by turning them into economic colonies. Korean citizens must not forget the fact that China invaded Korea on October 19th, 1950. In the Battle of Changjin Lake, the Korean army led 120,000 Chinese forces to their death, all the while marching 128 kilometers on foot. Petrified Mao Zedong wet his pants. He initiated 5 consecutive invasions on Korea with an army of nearly 3 million soldiers, exactly 2,980,000 soldiers, but failed to advance beyond the 38th parallels. This event struck the fear into the Chinese that remains to this day. A fear induced by the fact that this small nation at the edge of the continent successfully retaliated against the might of the 2,980,000 soldiers. Korea is a promised land that God himself swore to protect until the Pacific Ocean dried up and the Baekdusan mountain wears away. And our national anthem hints at this promise. God did not let the four forces of Communist China set foot on this oath-protected land. China claims that the Korean War was an act of anti-American act, but in truth, it was a war of conquest in which the Chinese army committed the merciless slaughter of thousands of Korean people. We Korean citizens must not forget the unjust invasion of Communist China. Hungnam evacuation, that is the Korean exodus. 120,000 Chinese soldiers were eradicated while in pursuit of the retreating United Nations Army, just as the Egyptians did when they followed the Israelites in Exodus. Like the Red Sea, which was divided at the prayer of the Israelites, Chinese soldiers died of cold and exhaustion at the prayer of the United Nations soldiers. In the Hungnam evacuation, the United States Army boarded 100,000 Korean civilians into 193 vessels, successfully evacuating them from the clawing grasp of the Chinese forces. This is just like the Exodus, in which God led the Israelites into Canaan, the promised land. At the time, most Korean churches and factories, and thereby Christians and the engineers were located in present-day North Korea. The land known as South Korea today was not but a barren, poverty-ridden place. But the evacuation of over 100,000 people from North Korea enabled technological and religious development for South Korea. This, we dare say, is another grace from God to us Koreans. President Lee Sung-man, with foreign aids from the United States, created the economic basics of Korea, and President Park Chung-hee, aided by Japan, made improvement on our chemical industries. As a result, South Korea, a nation that could barely dress her soldiers, now possesses the world's sixth strongest army and ranks 10th in economic prowess. A nation that could barely forge helmets has grown to export submarines, stealth fighters, tanks, and AMVs. Now, we launch spaceship to the moon. All this is God-given grace. You know, it all is thanks to God. In the Hungnam evacuation, the United States Army abandoned all supplies to board 100,000 Korean civilians instead. These angels sent by God, the United States soldiers, saved 100,000 lives that day. This unprecedented act of humanity is what made this nation it is today. United States soldiers gave their devotions and lives to protect this land and save its people. It reminds me of Jesus, who bore his cross up to the hill to save humanity itself. Again, I cannot emphasize more about how grateful we are to the soldiers and the citizens of America for the sacrifice and the devotion you showed us. We also thank the nations that sent their sons to battle for our sakes. To the people of America, England, France, Netherlands, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Turkey, Thailand, South Africa, Greece, Belgium, Ethiopia, Colombia, we thank you all. And let us not forget the 63 nations that sent us in time of our needs. Thank you as all. God's miracle in the Korean War. In the Korean War, God performed many miracles. On the fateful and rainy day of the August 16th, 1950, when the defense line at the Yalu River was about to break, President Lee Sung-man called in pastor with great haste to join their hands in prayers. They prayed, "O God, give us clear skies so that our bombers may fly." At this urgent prayer, the skies cleared for 26 minutes from 11:58 a.m. to 12:24 p.m., during which 99 bombers flew and dropped 960 tons worth of bombs to eradicate the North Korean army. On September 5th, 1950s, when the North Korean army took over Yeongcheon, President Lee Sung-man again folded his hand in prayer with 76 pastors, and Yeongcheon was reclaimed on September 11th. The Korean army got 29 valuable lives sacrificed, whereas that of the Communist army amounted to 3,799. General Baek Sun-yeop, remembered as a hero from the Battle of the Tabu-dong, claims that his prayer was what led him to victory. Prior to the Incheon landing operations, President Lee Sung-man led a prayer assembly for 2 weeks, begging forgiveness for shrine worship during the Japanese colonial period. 3 days after the assembly, the operations, which had an estimated 0.02 point success rate, succeeded. It was later reported that a northbound storm pushed the current to shore, hastening the landing. Rescued by God and Godfrey, the Chinese army sent the first attack wave on October 25th, 1950, against the United Nations Army, and by the time the second wave began on November 25th, a total of 30 divisions had attacked United Nations forces. That's about 300,000 Chinese soldiers. At the time, in the Eastern Front line, the United States Corps and the 1st Marine Division were marching north toward North Korea's wartime capital at Ganggae, the coldest region in the Korea Peninsula. They were ambushed and surrounded by 12 Chinese divisions during said march, and were facing near certain death. Cornered in the cold and mountainous area called Hagal-uri, many American soldiers died from exposure rather than battle. They had no choice but to retreat. During the retreat, the bridge connecting Gotori and Hwangchoryong was heavily damaged by a snowstorms, and dropping a provisional bridge via air support seemed unlikely as well. However, at the urgent prayer of these soldiers, the snowstorm ceased and they were able to cross safely with the provisional bridge. God's protection of Meredith's victory and his gift. Despite the terrible conditions that haunted them, the United States escorts were able to escape the pursuit of more than 120,000 Chinese soldiers, traversing a total of 128 kilometers on foot over the course of 15 days. General Richard Carey states that it is only thought God's grace that we escaped. The retreat to Hungnam Port was completed by 9 p.m. of December 11th, 1950, and of the ex-corps soldiers that escaped the Chinese pursuit, 4,500 died and 7,500 suffered frostbite in the cold of minus 30 centigrade degree. Most of the 875 Korean Kachusa soldiers that joined them did not survive. Through their sacrifice, God protected the United Nations soldiers who loved the God-given grace of freedom from the Chinese enslavers. Under the continued pursuit of China, the evacuation of 100,000 United States and Korean soldiers, along with a cargo of 17,500 vehicles and 35 tons of military supplies, put on board 193 vessels, began on December 12, 1950. As their departure neared, however, 200,000 North Korean civilians that rejected the communist order gathered at Hungnam Port. The Korean general Kim Baek-il said to the United States commanders, "If these civilians are not boarded, we will cross the 38th parallel on foot." It was a not so subtle way of stating that the Korean forces were willing to die with the North Korean refugees. We should thank and remember General Kim as well for saving these civilians. The Honorable General Edward Armand and Captain Leonard LaRue commanded the destructions of all cargo to save as many of these refugees as possible. About 100,000 were rescued, but the rest either committed suicide or were massacred by communist militia. James Robert Looney, the chief of officer at the time, has now become a symbol of the Korea-United States alliance in blood. On December 22nd, the Meredith's Victory, a cargo boat with a boarding capacity of only 60, carried 14,000 people in hers and successfully escaped Hungnam Port. Under the guidance of God, the Meredith's Victory slipped past raging waves and around 4,000 miles for 3 days to finally dock at Goje Island, carrying 14,005 people. Despite the lack of food and water, God held firm the lives of all 14,000 and sent 5 more new souls to top it off. The American soldiers on board the ship at the time even named these new souls. Their names are Kimchi 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Kimchi 5 is still alive and well at Goje Island. Fred Jr., a veteran, later wrote the following poem. Let us not forget Korea and her forgotten battle, the place we did not know, the fallen at the Battle of Changjin Lake. To some, death came swiftly, but to many it lingered and pained. Vision of the heart and the dying, carried by 34 trucks, I plead, do not forget Korea and her forgotten battle. As Fred Jr. did, we wish to commemorate the noble sacrifice of 1,789,000 Americans and honor their bravery. To create a wave of liberty that will drive away the communist forces and bring salvation to those suffering under their rules. We wish to gather at the place of miracle where the Incheon landing operation happened. Dear God, save Korea and America from the communist attack of China. Allow us to rescue our brothers in North Korea. Children of God in America, we must return to God now. Pray, and God will save America, Korea, and even North Korea. Should Korea and America hold hands in prayer, Communist China will surely fall. 72 years ago, we were the ones being saved. Now, the Republic of Korea will take the vanguard in the war against the communists. Our brothers in America, fear not. We will pray for you to return America to greatness. Thank you for saving Korea at the dearest time of need. Let us pray. December 10th, 2022. Association commemorating the miracle of Christmas from Hungnam evacuation to Chosin Reservoir battle. Thank you for listening. This the appreciation letters. Dear American friends and the Blood Alliance, we thank you for your sacrifice and your people's dedications. We will not forget your help and your sacred spirit and your warm heart. Thank you very much, all of the Americans. Please, God may bless you, all of the American people. Thank you again. Thank you.